So I just refinanced my home loan. And a big question popped up almost immediately. With the Reserve Bank of Australia meeting this week, does it actually make sense to fix for a year or two? Or not? And the reason I think this is so important to talk about is that it's not just some abstract market story anymore. This is a real-life decision that a lot of us are facing right now.
Before we do though, quick disclaimer. Nothing in this video is financial advice. I'm not a licensed advisor. This is purely educational. Do your own research. Talk to a professional if you need to. All right, let's go.
Okay, so let's dive right in. The big question on everyone's mind, do you fix or do you wait? See, when you're refinancing, interest rates suddenly stop being a headline you skim past. They become a very personal, very real calculation with some pretty serious consequences for your monthly budget. So here's the story. I was right in the middle of the whole refinancing process, and my broker and I got to talking about whether it was a smart move to lock in a rate for the next 1 to 2 years. It sounds like a simple enough question, right? But what it really does is force you to think about some much, much deeper issues. It's really not just about trying to guess what the RBA is going to do next. It's about asking yourself some tough questions like, how long could rates actually stay this high? How much do I truly value the certainty of knowing exactly what my repayment is each month? What about flexibility in case my life changes? And maybe most importantly, how am I going to feel if I lock in a rate and then they start to fall, and I look back and think maybe I moved too early? To answer those questions, we have to understand what's happening in the wider economy. Because, let's be honest, we're in a climate of serious uncertainty, and that's what makes this whole decision so tricky. Right now, the RBA's cash rate is sitting at 3.85%, and we got here because the RBA had to lift it back in February when inflation started to creep up again. So we're already in this high-rate world, which is what's setting the stage for this huge debate about what happens next. Now take a look at this. These are the forecasts from Australia's Big Four banks. You've got 3 of them expecting another rate hike, while 1 is calling for a hold. This disagreement, that's what's really telling. When the experts can't even agree, it shows you just how much uncertainty is out there. And this perfectly shows the tightrope the RBA is walking. On one side, there's all this pressure to hike rates even further. I mean, inflation is still above their target, and rising oil prices are just adding fuel to the fire. But on the other, man, there's enormous pressure to just pause. These higher rates are putting a massive strain on households, and the whole economy is slowing down. So this is why that fixed versus variable question feels so hard right now. But what if we're asking the wrong question entirely? Let's try looking at this through a new framework, one that's all about preparation, not just prediction. When most people talk about fixing their loan, they treat it like a bet on the RBA, like they're trying to guess if rates will go up or down. But I think that's way too narrow. A much better way to look at it is as a decision about your own personal need for certainty, plain and simple. So here's the real trade-off. If you fix your rate, you're essentially paying for stability. You get that peace of mind from knowing exactly what your repayments will be. And honestly, that can be incredibly valuable. But if you stay variable, you're choosing to hold on to your flexibility. And that could be great if rates peak sooner than we think, or if your own personal situation changes. So for me, the question that became way more useful was this. Am I trying to be a perfect RBA predictor, or am I just trying to make a decision that I can live with even if I get it wrong? That little shift in perspective, well, it changes everything. Now, this way of thinking goes way beyond just one mortgage. This exact same uncertainty creates huge ripple effects for anyone who's investing in the Australian stock market, the ASX. Think about it. If rates stay higher for longer, or even tick up again, those effects ripple through the entire market. First up, you've got the banks. They are right there on the front line, since their profitability and their ability to lend are tied directly to these rate decisions. Next up, retailers. And this one's pretty direct, right? When mortgage payments go up for thousands and thousands of us, our discretionary spending goes down, and that hits retail sales right where it hurts. And of course, you've got property-related stocks. These guys can get hit with a real double whammy. The cost of financing their new projects goes up, and at the exact same time, overall demand for property can cool off big time. Okay, so let's just quickly break that down again. For banks, it's all about their lending growth and their profit margins. For retailers, it's a simple squeeze on household spending. For property stocks, it's higher financing costs and weaker demand. But here's the key takeaway for all investors. Higher rates fundamentally change the math on what you should be willing to pay for a company's future earnings, and that is a huge deal. So, where have I landed after thinking through all of this? Well, the RBA's decision this week absolutely matters, but the bigger lesson here is that the goal isn't to be perfect. And this is the most important thing to take away. The goal is to make a decision that still makes sense even if the next move goes against you. That right there is the core principle for making solid financial choices in a world full of uncertainty. And let's be clear, this isn't just about mortgages. This principle applies to borrowers who are trying to manage their cash flow, and it applies just as much to investors trying to position their portfolios for whatever comes next. Because in markets and in our personal finances, uncertainty never really goes away. You just get better at deciding how much of it you're willing to carry. And I guess that's the real question I'll leave you with today.